We're at the Capitol with Senator Charlie Lassiter, minority leader in the Senate, of course, and this has been deadline week. What does that mean at the Capitol for someone with the decisions that have to be made like you?
Well, we have to have some order out of all the bills that are filed, and we have deadlines, self-imposed deadlines, and this was deadline week. All Senate bills had to be heard on the Senate floor and voted out or voted in favor of. Same thing on the House side, or they're dead for the year anyway. Okay. If you leave your bill on general order in the Senate and don't have it heard this week, then you could bring it up next year, but not this session. So it's one of those very busy weeks where there's a deadline, and you know what happens when there's a deadline.
That's right. Everything stops when the clock stops ticking. But that does not mean it's time for us to become less involved. It's very important for all of us to continue to get in touch with our senators and with our legislators, because there's a lot of things that have happened. Talk a little bit about some of the things that are maybe going to be tough for you to get along with over the next few weeks.
Well, there's the one theme that we're seeing on the Senate side is what I call an attack on the independence of the judiciary. The courts. People are entitled to have an independent judge. District judges are elected by the people, but they should be beholden to no one except for the people. Okay. And there's just been several measures out here that would attack that in a little way. For example, to try to make appointments to the Workers' Compensation Court subject to Senate confirmation. Now that's where we're getting the crossover between the judiciary and the legislature. Mm-hmm. Now, if people like what goes on in Washington, D.C., and the fighting, partisan fighting over appointments of federal judges, if they like that, they'll like this bill that's working its way through the legislature this year, because that's what it would do. It would make a confirmation of judges on the Workers' Comp Court. That's all they're after this time. But it would make those judges subject to Senate confirmation. And we know what would happen there. There are 48 senators, and we're elected, and we're Democrats or Republicans, and we have our own ideas, and the Senate would try to impose its will on those judicial nominees and try to oppose ones that didn't think the way that you did, for example. Okay. So I think it's just bad policy.
So as I understand it, Charlie, right now we vote on the judges.
You vote on district judges?
Yes.
Yeah, associate district judges. Right now, for workers' compensation court judges and the Supreme Court and Court of Appeals and Court of Criminal Appeals, there's a judicial nominating commission that has 7 non-lawyers on it and 6 lawyers. And they go through applications and submit 3 names to the governor, and the governor appoints workers' comp, Supreme Court, Court of Criminal Appeals. So the governor doesn't have free reign as the President of the United States does. And the judges in Oklahoma are only appointed for a particular period of time. See, it's a big difference. In the federal system, the President can appoint whomever he wants, doesn't have to select from a small list, and they're appointed for life.
Okay.
So of course, it is good to have a check and a balance on that and have the Senate review and confirm a judge that is proposed to be appointed for life. Okay. But in Oklahoma, they're appointed for maybe a 4-year term or a 6-year term, depending on the court, and they're subject to reappointment, all those after every term. So it's not the same as in federal court.
Meaning that the stakes aren't so high because the judge is not going to be there for life, and it's not just drawing somebody from anywhere. It is actually a recommendation from an independent commission, really.
It's called the Judicial Nominating Commission. Okay. And the governor will get 3 names, and he can only pick from those 3 names. Okay. So he can't go out and just pick his good buddy from Shawnee, Charlie Lassiter. and he's got to pick just from the 3 names.
Right, right. Though if Charlie, you got picked, that'd be cool with me. But also,
I was just kidding about that.
Yeah, I know, I know. Also, though, some other things going on that gained some different attention. Talk a little bit about those.
Well, the voter ID thing, I've talked about that before, but it passed through the Senate on a party line vote, and it would require everyone to have a photo ID issued by a government agency to be able to vote. And that's a concern because there are people out there that don't drive, for example. They don't have a driver's license. They don't have need for a driver's license. And they don't have a photo ID issued by a government agency. They don't have any need for that. And so that's just one little impediment for people to vote. I think we should make it easier for people to vote. I think that we should expand early voting, which a bill that I carried, but the leadership in the Senate did not like that bill. I think that people ought to be able to register up to just darn near the day of the election. That make it easier for people to vote. The other side of the aisle didn't like that bill either, but they want to make it a little bit more difficult for some people to vote. And the truth is that these voter ID measures in other states have always been partisan because they shoot at older people, disabled people, and more marginal people, and those people tend to vote Democratic.
Okay, because that was really what was going around in my head, Charlie, is what would be the benefit of that, and or also what is the safety that they're trying to create with this whole ID thing?
One of the things that we try to point out is that we have a very good election system here in Oklahoma, and the Republican author cannot cite one case of voter fraud in Oklahoma. Now, there are some examples of what we call registration fraud or registration tomfoolery, in my opinion. Someone will go in and register Mickey Mouse as a voter, or the Republicans say that one of them registered a pig. And my response to that is, I bet the pig didn't vote. Okay, so that's registration pranks, but there's no cases of actual voter fraud that anyone can cite in Oklahoma. So it's a solution in search of a problem.
Okay.
And it is something that, quite frankly, it helps Republicans and hurts Democrats. So it shouldn't be that way. It should be, any change to our voting system should make it easier for people to vote, and it should be straight down the middle. It should not be partisan.
So one of those things that Oklahomans feel in our hearts with common sense is if it ain't fixed, or I mean, if it ain't broke, it's fixed. Don't try to fix it.
That's right. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. And so I think they're trying to fix a problem that doesn't exist.
All right. Well, as always, your insights are great for all of us. And remember, you can get involved in our state government simply by calling the number after this video. You can get in contact with senators such as Charlie Laster, as well as anyone within the state government to voice your opinion. Charlie, as always each week, thank you very much for coming down and talking with us.
My pleasure to be here. We'll look forward to the next cycle of bills coming from the House.
It'll be fun. Thanks, Charlie.
All right.